Hey, good morning, everyone. We're just gonna give it a minute or two, and then we'll get going. Morning. For those that just joined, we'll just give it another minute, and then we'll rock and roll. Ready. Well, we're two after. Let's go ahead and get started. As others trickle in, and I'm sure we'll be all good to get going. So, hi everyone. Thank you for joining this presentation. It's only going to be about 30 minutes. Be pretty quick. We will stay around for Q&A afterwards if there's any specific questions. But feel free to ask questions as they come up in the chat, and we'll definitely revisit them at the end for a Q&A. We do have, just due to the limited time and the content we have. So I do want to just do a quick notice. This webinar is going to be recorded and will be sent out by the end of the week. So I just want to be mindful this is being recorded, and then it'll be available for others to watch at a later time. So I'll point that out. Let's see, next slide here. So quick overview. I'll also real quickly introduce myself for those that don't know. My name is Andy Gustafson. I'm the program manager on the AESAP program. I'm on the line. We also have Sarah and Brooke from our team. They're also on the call as well, helping out. But for the presentation, we're going to do a quick introduction of the program and an overview of what we do. The main purpose of this presentation is to highlight the benefits and the measure, which is pipe insulation rebates that are available. We'll go over some energy savings examples and a live example on the call with a calculator that we have. And then we'll go over the application process and do some Q&A and contact information at the end. So TRC, who are we? Just a quick background. So for those that don't know, TRC is a global tech-enabled engineering and consulting services firm. Shown here on the little image on the right are some of the major sectors we serve, specifically in the advanced energy portion of TRC. We do power, oil and gas, transportation, some other stuff on the advanced energy side of things. Within energy specifically, we implement various utility programs throughout the country and California. And we're really excited to be able to support multiple energy efficiency programs in California, including this one here that we're talking about. So what is AESAP? AESAP stands for the Agricultural Energy Savings Action Plan. We offer what's called prescriptive deemed rebates. We do custom calculated incentives. We do financing for energy saving projects that qualify and meet CPC rules and requirements. Typically, these projects involve the retrofit or installation of energy related to energy consuming equipment or modification to those. We're what's called a third-party implementer. We're contracted through PG&E to provide these energy efficiency services to this sector. So we actually are what we'd say like a partner with PG&E. We're working through PG&E to offer these services to the ag sector. Our program is started in 2021, this AESAP Ag Incentive Program. We're going at least through 2027. We comprehensively serve all the segments in the PG&E's agricultural sector, so specifically PG&E territory for the ag sector customers. Those type of customers include like crop production, controlled environment or horticulture, wineries, breweries, distilleries, dairy, livestock. Those are the major sectors we serve. We're bound by NAICS codes for customer type. So if there's ever any uncertainty, like, oh, can our program serve this customer, that customer? We typically look at the NAICS code of that customer to make sure that we can serve them and that they're a qualifying customer that pays a PPP charge on their utility bill. So our services are absolutely no cost to the customer. We have a performance contract, so we get reimbursed from PG&E based on actually delivering incentives and savings for projects. We're very motivated to find qualifying projects. Once again, no cost to the customer. We have free engineering supports and services, and most importantly, we're helping process those incentives, rebates, and helping with financial applications, financing. Real quick, we have a rebate catalog. I just wanted to, and one of the measures we're talking about today is on this rebate catalog. So here's a little, it's a PDF form. We also have some other descriptions on our main website, but I wanted to just briefly show it real quick so you knew what it looked like. The link is here, the Ag Energy Savings, that rebate catalog link. If you went to a browser, it actually looks like this. It's a PDF version, and you can see right here for the measure we're talking about today is a pipe insulation down here, but we also do dairy fan, ag ventilation fans, and VFD measures. We have a measure for indoor horticultural grow lighting now. It's a new measure that we're excited about. We also do irrigation, a booster well and booster pump VFDs. We also do boiler, some other greenhouse heat curtain film, and some other refrigeration related measures. So I just wanted to point that out. But if you go through here, it does show all the rules and requirements and the rebates for each of these measures that we're talking about. So that's that. So for today, we're going to be talking about hot water pipe insulation, specifically the measure overview for that. So all these prescriptive deemed rebate measures have what's assigned what's called a measure work paper code. Just for awareness, there is a code, it's SWWH017 specifically. These are what are called statewide work papers. So the rules and requirements for this measure are consistent throughout the state. So whether you're working with even a different utility down in, like, say, SoCal Gas or something like that, if they offer this measure code, it's the same rules and requirements. So if you're working with a customer, or if you are a customer that's in a different utility outside of PG&E, the rules and requirements should be the same. But I would check with the implementer and the other program to be safe. But this measure includes, it's related to adding insulation to pipe and pipe fittings. So pipe fittings can include like the elbows, the T's, the valves, the unions, the flanges, reducers, bushings, all that stuff are what's lumped under what's called fittings. You can see, like in that picture on the right, shows some of those fittings that are insulated there. It's specifically for hot water and steam piping. And the big thing here is that it's allowing the installation's it's offsetting some of the energy demand for the boiler or whatever is producing that hot water, steam, or hot water, and it helps with the energy savings there. The applications include steam piping, condensate return type, for an example. That's like a hot water return. Chilled water, even refrigerant, can qualify for this. It's once again, this measure rebate is applicable for any ag or industrial facility in PG&E territory. So, for example, breweries, wineries, distilleries, they're what's considered an industrial customer. We can serve them, and often there can be a lot of pipe insulation opportunities at those sites as well. This can be for indoor or outdoor applications. And I just want to note, especially for ag sector, the biggest, one of the big benefits we've been seeing is with greenhouse operations. So it could really be a great opportunity. So we frequently observe uninsulated hot water system piping in areas such as like those supply and return lines from the boiler rooms. This is a perfect application or rebate for that. The rebate is $4 per foot of insulated piping, no matter the size, or per fitting. If it's a elbow T, whatever, it's $4 per foot. if for some reason the rebate, you're like, it's not enough or whatever, reach out to us because there are some other, there might be some other incentive resources or grants or funding that we could combine with it that might make the project a little more attractive to you. So, but that's a quick overview at a high level there, what the rebate is and then the type of applications. Just some quick benefits related to the insulation. Of course, energy savings, especially in the cooler winter months. Gas prices continue to go up, especially in the winter months. It can get really expensive. We see that a lot with our greenhouse customers is like they're very mindful of their gas consumption and use, especially in the cooler months and the winter months. And this is actually perfect timing because we're kind of starting to go into I know it doesn't seem like it's still like 100 degrees in some areas right now, but at the time of this recording, which is early October, but it is going to start cooling down. And that's where the gas usage and utilities, your gas utility bill will really spike, especially for some large, say for a greenhouse, for example, we're doing a lot of hot water steam pipes type heating in your greenhouses. So there's really good energy savings, especially in those cooler months. Another benefit could be less drastic swings in your heating system demand. So it kind of, stabilizes the process temperatures there. So there's less of a heat load going in and out of the exposed piping there. So it can stabilize things a bit. There also are some improved conditions for like maintenance personnel that might be working in boiler rooms because I've seen it firsthand. You go in a boiler room and it's like, wow, it's hot in here because of all this exposed piping and stuff, right? So it can really improve some conditions for personnel working there. It also can prevent condensation and possibly corrosion on those cold surfaces for piping, which can be a plus. Um, and another plus that also is related to safety. So there's less exposed hot surfaces. There is some of the safety required instances will make the rebate ineligible, but it is a benefit for the measure in general. Just insulating pipes can definitely be a safety improvement there. Some eligibility requirements I wanted to go over here. So the pipe, actually, I'm sorry, I wanted to go back real quick here. I just want to point out that, no, sorry, on the right side. So eligibility requirements, right? It's for there are certain requirements to qualify for the measure. The pipe must transfer hot water, either low or medium pressure steam directly from either a gas fired like boiler, for example. It can even be electric heat source or a heat pump water heater can also qualify for the rebate here. Um, when pursuing the rebate, we have to be able to specify the fluid type, whether it's steam or hot water, and then the pressure of the steam. We'll show an example there coming up. It must be indicated in the submission. There also is a minimum pipe diameter size, which is 1/2 inch. So the steam piping must be at least a 1/2 inch, which is actually pretty small for what we typically see. So we also, there is a minimum of the thickness of insulation that must be put on the piping when doing so. And that thickness it has to be at least 1 inch of pipe insulation being added to that existing bare, steel or copper pipe, whatever it might be there. Next slide. Some eligibility requirements, just continuing on here. Some of the acceptable types of insulation specifically for the hot water piping would include elastomeric foam, rubber, polyethylene foam, UV resistant polyethylene foam, and rigid polyethylene foam type insulations. For steam piping, it allows silicone foam rubber, melamine foam, rigid urethane based foam, cellular glass, rigid fiberglass, and rigid mineral roll are some of the types of required insulation that qualify. If you're unsure or you want to check to see if an insulation, maybe you get a quote and you want to make sure the insulation qualifies, you can always reach out to us so we can definitely check the work paper and confirm if it meets the requirement there. Some important notes that do not qualify for the rebate. There some might be good energy saving opportunities with it, but there are some, areas where the rebate specifically is not allowed. These applications include new construction applications or a retrofit where it does trigger a compliance with building codes in California, like Title 24 requirements. So just a note, if there's a build going on and the code requires that you have to have insulated pipes in that rebuild, you can't get a rebate for that. Another requirement is if it's related to OSHA requirements. An example might be if there's a hot surfaces, 140 degrees F or more on that exposed surfaces that are within 7 feet of the floor or 15 inches of a stairway, ramps, or fixed ladders, that insulation is not eligible either. And also replacing existing insulation or damaged insulation is not eligible. The main intent of this here is they don't the CPUC and the state they do not want to pay out incentives or rebates for projects that a customer is going to have to do anyway. So that's kind of the key takeaway here is if you get if say a customer or you have to do an insulation putting insulation on piping because it's required either due to safety or maybe code compliance, they as in like the state does not want to pay out incentive dollars for projects that are going to have to be done anyway. So that's kind of the key thing here. Regarding the safety thing, there are some instances where if it's equipment that's off limits to customer to personnel, that OSHA requirement might not be a requirement there. So like certain areas that are off limits, it might still be eligible for the rebate cows because once again, it's just intended for situations where only if you're going to have to do that installation anyway, that's when it's not allowed for the rebate there. So now I just want to take some time to kind of go over the savings estimates that are going to be demonstrated here. To calculate the energy savings from adding insulation to existing uninsulated pipe, there's really like three modes of heat transfer that are considered. The three main heat loss type considerations here. That's convection. So like example convection is like when wind's blowing across something, it convects the heat away. Conduction, which is the heat transfer through like a material. And then also the radiation of like radiating from the surface there. So those are the three modes that are considered in the energy savings calculations that were done here. So the convection was considered between the inside film and then the outside wall of the insulation and was analyzed through the wall, the piping, with a constant thermal conductivity. So to finalize the calculation, finally, the radiation convection were also considered on that bare pipe and to figure out the heat loss. So basically, the modeling is based off a bare exposed pipe, what the heat loss is, BTU heat loss for that exposed pipe. And then it was modeled again with at least with that 1 inch of insulation type. And then you calculate the heat loss difference. That is what those energy savings are based off of. Included, I want to point out though that a bare pipe versus one that's insulated. So if you insulate that pipe, less than 5% of that heat loss is going to be lost after the fact. So you're saving about 95% of the heat loss by insulating that pipe. There's huge energy savings. So one thing to consider is outside of just the rebate that you might get on this, there is huge utility savings for insulating steam and hot water pipe, depending on the application and the operating hours, of course. But typically, if you look at an exposed piece of pipe, and then you model it before as the bare piece of pipe, and then with it insulated with that 1 inch, you'll save 95% of the heat loss. So it's huge, especially with the gas costs and things like that are going on with utility rates lately. So some of the energy savings results have a number of components that are kind of wrapped up into the energy savings calculation. Of course, it's dependent on the pipe diameter. So different pipe sizes have different energy losses and savings, right? Also the insulation thickness. Boiler efficiency, right? There's various boiler efficiencies based on the fluid types. In the savings calculations, the values for these boiler efficiencies were pulled from a pipe insulation impact evaluation report that was done several years back. Those are there's averaged boiler efficiencies that were used in the calculation of this, just to make things easier, more simplified approach for estimating energy savings. Also, the weather data is a big factor on this, right? So if it's piping that is outside, you're going to have that wind, the convection, a lower temperature at night typically outside. So you'll have greater energy savings outside as compared to inside a boiler room, for an example, where it's hotter, right? You have more of a delta or difference in those piping surface temperatures and the outside exposed here. So the bigger that delta in temperature, especially with some wind convection, things like that, you have higher savings outside versus inside. And that was built into the function of like the energy savings here too. And then also annual operating hours are part of this. For this energy savings measures, the approximate annual hours of operation used in these savings estimates are about 6,500 hours per year. So I will say, while our savings estimate we're going to show here on a calculator we have on the next slide that we'll demo, please note that if your existing conditions at your facility or at any facility you might work with differ from this, we are more than happy to look at those operating hours and the conditions of that facility and do a tailored energy savings estimate for a more honed and actual estimate of the savings at that specific site. With that said, these savings estimates are averaged estimated savings for based on the climate zone of where you're at and the type. So it is on average a pretty accurate representation of the energy savings you might see there. So we're going to kind of go through an example here on if you want to estimate energy savings at a facility or your facility. Our team put together kind of what I think is a little handy calculator tool. I'll pull it up real quick. It's on our website. The links here, agenergysavings.com is our website /pipe insulation. We'll send it out later as well. But if you go to our browser, this is what the website looks like right here. And it kind of goes into some of the information on the insulation measure opportunity. But the real cool thing about this is if you scroll down, adds a little calculator here. So I'll do a quick demo example. So say you have 100 feet of piping. Let's say it's outdoor. Climate zone, there's a little map here that says what climate zone you're in. But for example, if you're like in the Salinas area or somewhere in PG&E territory along that kind of the Salinas area there, which is a common one for greenhouses, just for an example, you'd select climate zone 3, and once again the map's there. And then let's say it was steam piping, greater than 15 psig, and then you just select the pipe diameter. Let's say it's greater than 4 inches. So say like a large return line or something like that. And remember, you could select if it's a fitting, a pipe, whatever it is, and put the number of units. The number of units is whether either the length, like 100 feet would be 100 units. If you're doing 50 fittings, flanges, blah, 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 right? You put in the 50 there. So you can just add in the number of units, whether it's fittings or per foot. So, and it'll actually spit out the rebate value, the estimated annual utility savings for that measure, and therm savings. So this is like how many therms you'll save on your utility bill, and using an estimated average like $1.25, and we can customize this, right? Utility rate that you might have on your bill, it'll actually give you your estimated annual utility savings. So for an example, say if you got a quote for like, and it was like, I'm just throwing out a number like $15,000 to insulate this quantity of pipe. If you subtract the rebate value, you get your net cost, and you divide it by this $13,750 number, that'll give you your payback. And in this situation, say it was $15,000 with the savings shown here, that would be just about a 1-year payback. So there's really good paybacks for a lot of these measures. And it's just an example of what you can do with the calculator that we have on our website. This will tell you the estimated rebate and then also what your estimated savings would be. The other good thing is if you put in your contact information below, your name or email, your business name, your address, you don't have to put all this stuff in, but if you put this in, any questions and you submit it, we will get all this information with the savings and the quantity and all that stuff. So we can get that, and then we could do a tailored analysis. So say if we want to look at your exact utility rate or your operating hours, we can do that and really let you know. Also, once again, if that rebate value is not enough to move the needle on a project, please let us know. There might be some additional incentives or funding available, financing also, that might be able to help make this project a reality for you. So let me just go back to my slides here. So hopefully this is helpful with that savings estimate. We're trying to just make this as easy as possible, so you don't have to worry about all the convection, radiation, all that sort of heat loss stuff, right? So what is the rebate process through our program? It's pretty straightforward for these prescriptive rebate projects. So typically, make sure that the proposal meets the requirements, and if you're unsure, contact us and we could check. You're free to install the equipment at any time. We just want to make sure it qualifies. So I would recommend, if you get a quote or proposal, maybe reach out to us and make sure that the project qualifies for the rebate before purchasing. But if you have a project even now, you already did some installation and maybe it was within the last 60 days, if you have that invoice, you can send it to us and we can cut you a rebate check now. But you submit the application. We would need a copy of the paid invoice for that. When it was installed, the information of what date and time date it was installed. We will review that application. We'd send you paperwork to sign, and we'll mail you a rebate check. Typically, by the time we get all the information on the project to when you get the rebate, it's usually within, for rebates, be deemed rebates, it's usually within about a month, sometimes up to 2 months, depending on if the project needs to be inspected or not. So hopefully that gives you a feeling that the process is pretty quick on these type of projects. What is the process again for the application? You contact us either through that contact form with that calculator sheet we were just showing, or you could just email us, call us. You can call me directly. I'm happy to help, either email or phone. Providing some high level information is very helpful. So that might be if you have a proposal or the invoice, that the quantity of the type and the type of installation that's proposed. The facility type. Is this a greenhouse? Is this a winery? Is it a brewery? What type of facility is it? And just some basic equipment information. Is it a steam boiler? Is it hot water heat pump? Whatever it might be. Just some high level information. Even if you don't send it, just send us an email. We'll get in touch with you and we'll talk through all that stuff. We'll review it. We'll call you to discuss the viability, make sure everything is good. And any questions we might have, and then we'll send you the paperwork to the customer and or whoever is representing the customer to sign and send back to us, and we'll start process the check. So what are the forms that we need? There's only 2 forms we need to cut you an incentive check or rebate check. It's what's called a program participation agreement, sometimes called a PPA. This is just an application. It's an application form. We will help populate this. So we don't expect you, this form is on our website. We don't expect you to fill it out. But if you give us that information, we will fill this out with the information as far as the measure code, the savings, all that stuff. We'll fill that out for you, and then we'll send for signature. There's also what's called the contractor certification form or incentive recipient form that also must be signed when we're processing a project completion, such as a deemed rebate application, that just certifies that you're the incentive recipient for that. And there's some contract requirements for some certain types of measures that get signed there. So those are the only 2 forms that we need there. Outside of that, once again, we're getting up to 9:30 here. I want to be mindful of everyone's time, but our team is available to you as a resource. We're here to help with the application and processing of these incentives and rebates. We provide no-cost technical and project support. The most important thing that obviously is to customers is we're the ones that are providing the rebates and incentives for these specifically ag customers. We are the third-party implementer that does the incentives and rebates for PG&E for the ag sector. So if you're pursuing an incentive or a rebate in PG&E territory and it's for an ag customer, it would work through our program. So we're the right people to reach out to on this stuff. In addition to just this measure and rebates, we also do custom for anything that might not be in our rebate catalog. We can do what's called custom calculated incentives. So as long as the measure meets the requirements to the statewide rules and requirements, which we can help navigate, there also can be incentives available for stuff outside of what's on this rebate catalog. There's also financing support for a lot of measures too. So there's a popular program for on-bill financing. There's also a Go Green financing, statewide financing resource that could help. There's also great tax benefits for a lot of these measures. So if we could show we're a certified energy efficiency contractor, if we show our audit report, you can also apply for really good tax benefits, which is another thing people don't consider often. But yeah, please reach out to us. We have up-to-date program information. So if you want to sign up or interested in adding contact information, we'll include you on that, and you can be updated on, we don't blast your inbox. Usually it's every month or so. We might send a little update or a new measure we're offering based on the type of measure, things like that. But yeah, we're here to help. Once again, we're no cost at all. So we're just here to hand out these incentive funds, right? That's our goal. That's our motivation too. So please reach out to us. The last slide here is just getting in touch. My name is, once again, Andy Gustafson. I'm the program manager. That's my direct cell phone there and my email address. I've also put on an engineering manager here, Antonio Alberti, who's on our team. his cell phone. And so if there's a specific engineering, I'm also an engineer, so I can also help answer any engineering questions, but feel free to reach out to us. Once again, our main email address is shown there on the right, agenergysavings@trccompanies.com, with our main phone number, and then our website, which is agenergysavings.com. Once again, sign up on our website for a newsletter. It can be a great resource to find out new events when we're going to be at, say, the World Ag Fair or whatever events, come by, say hi to some of the events we're at. So with that, just a thank you for joining. Once again, we're going to do Q&A now. If there are any questions or questions that we can help answer, we'll also send out the recording of this afterwards for those that might not have been able to sign up, that might have been able to join. We usually put these recordings on our website too, if we ever want to have it as a resource for a customer or someone else to work with in the future might want to watch if it's helpful to explain the measure offering. So with that, I will pause and look at the webinar chat to see if there's any questions, or feel free to unmute yourself. Is there anyone on the line that might have any questions or comments or anything related to this measure? Or even unrelated to the measure, about our program or otherwise? Any questions or comments? All right, I'm not seeing anything. I guess that's a good sign, right? So we'll give it another minute. If there's any questions or comments, if not, thank you again for joining. I really appreciate it. Once again, if say you're not a customer, but you're working with ag customers in PG&E territory, we'll have this video and other information, the calculator, all that stuff available for use or help with estimating savings related to the measure, or requirements, things like that. This will be available for help. So yeah, once again, any questions, comments? All right. I think we're good then. Sarah, Brooke, anything on your end, or you guys good too?
I think we're good.
Alrighty. Well, thanks again, everyone. I really appreciate your time. Please reach out if for installation stuff or anything else otherwise related to if you have any equipment upgrades in the future and you're curious if you might qualify for an incentive, please reach out as early as possible so we can help navigate the incentive process. So, but once again, thank you, and appreciate your time, and I think we'll sign off now. So, all right, take care, everyone.